The trickster is an archetype that has been at the center of myths, stories, and cultural traditions for millennia. At its core are provocation, play, irony, and the ability to break the boundaries of a system to renew it. Carl Jung argued that there are as many archetypes as there are typical situations in life. For example, the hero, the lover, the child, the sage, the ruler, or the deceiver. Archetypes are imprints of ancestral experience preserved in the collective unconscious, which attract energy and structure it, ultimately leading to the creation of civilization and culture. We cannot observe them directly, but they influence our actions and ways of thinking. The trickster is everywhere. It is an eternal state of mind. In the modern world, the qualities of the trickster are essential for anyone who wants to adapt to a changing reality. This archetype helps us approach decisions flexibly, remain free from dogma, and use contradictions for good. Tricksters are masters of chaos who easily break rules, turn situations upside down, and still manage to stay afloat. In this video, you will find 10 steps to help you develop the qualities of a trickster and learn to see life as a game where the main focus is not the rules, but their creative reinterpretation. Learn from myths and legends. To become a trickster, you need to know how the masters of this craft operated. Start with myths. For example, the Norse god Loki often made mistakes but always found a way to turn them to his advantage. Recall how he created great treasures for the gods simply by trying to save his own skin. Hermes is another trickster who turned the theft of a herd into a diplomatic gift, becoming the god of trade and ingenuity. And the legends of Coyote, the trickster of North American indigenous peoples, show that you can create an entire world and the first humans by kicking a lump of dirt. Myths are the psyche's way of telling stories about itself. Iktomi is a trickster spirit in the form of a spider. Once, he was wisdom, but he lost it due to his mischief. He can control people with threads, like puppets. According to prophecy, his web was to spread across the entire earth. This can be interpreted as the telephone network and later as the internet, the World Wide Web. Iktomi has been considered the patron of new technologies since ancient times. Tricksters are always on the move. They are the lords of the in-between. While we try to trace their origins, they continue to play with us, performing their tricks and always evading, crossing the conceptual boundaries we try to impose on them. Therefore, there is no single definition of a trickster. That's how deceptive the deceiver can be. The Joker, Jack Sparrow, Tyler Durden, their stories teach us how to turn weakness into strength and failure into victory. Your first task is to study their stories. Create riddles. If myths were merely historical relics, why haven't they disappeared into the great garbage heap of the past but continue to influence us? The myth of the trickster has a therapeutic effect. One of the key traits of a trickster is the ability to confuse rather than explain. In a world where everyone strives to give answers, the trickster asks questions. Instead of telling people what to do, they create riddles, leave hints, and provoke thought. The trickster introduces us to a world of paradoxes where the truth is not in the answer but in the process of seeking. This means they help people see the world differently, knocking them off the beaten path of thinking. Imagine someone asks you something, and instead of giving a direct answer, you say, "What do you think?" Or tell a strange metaphor or parable that leads to an idea. The key here is to create space for independent exploration. People value answers they arrive at themselves more than those given to them. Become a master of questions and intrigue. Remember, the more people are involved in the game, the more they learn. By the way, here's a riddle for you. I am always ahead, but no one sees me. I will show you the way, but I will stay in place. Who am I? Write your answer in the comments. Break the rules. tricksters often find themselves in situations where the rules seem unbreakable, but they know how to break them elegantly and creatively. The key here is precisely elegance and creativity. Here I offer you the concept of the enlightened trickster. The enlightened trickster is a modern version of the archetype that retains cunning, creativity, and a sense of humor, but operates within the bounds of the law. The enlightened trickster controls their impulses to achieve what they consider important. They have beliefs and a point of view, but these differ from what the system or the silent masses offer. Robert Johnson, a Jungian analyst, wrote, "The trickster undermines our conventions to show their illusory nature. Only by destroying the old can we create something new." This means that sometimes you need to allow yourself to do what seems wrong to discover something unexpected. Practice foolishness. Pretend you don't know something even if you do. This relaxes those around you, helps them open up, and often provides more information than a direct question. Hermes used this technique when he seemingly accidentally created chaos and then unexpectedly turned it to his advantage. Or do something intentionally awkward, forget formalities, break the routine. Sometimes this can relieve tension, make people laugh, and create opportunities for new ideas and solutions. The main lesson here is, don't be afraid to look ridiculous. The trickster knows that wisdom hides behind the mask of foolishness. Laugh. What is the trickster's main weapon? That's right, laughter. Laughter is a special attitude toward life and oneself, especially laughing at oneself. How does it work? When you laugh at a situation, you stop perceiving it as a tragedy. If the noble art of tragedy portrays humans as oppressed, tormented, and destroyed by forces beyond their control, from envious gods to foolish rulers, then comedy, in turn, insists on the right of humans to give these forces the middle finger. The trickster is both a fool and a revolutionary. It all depends on the context and the nature of the structure they oppose in each particular story. Comedy demonstrates the rise of the spirit of freedom in humans and their overcoming of all obstacles. The goal of comedy is to show that humans have the right to remain themselves, regardless of what authority wants to make of them. So if you want to be a trickster, learn to laugh even when it seems completely inappropriate. Embrace sexuality. Another characteristic of the trickster is the open expression of physicality. As a shapeshifter and taboo breaker, they are capable of having sex with almost anyone. Moreover, the trickster has very vague ideas about what sex is. This is why myths and legends often punish them for it. For example, Nick Sant, a trickster from the tales of a North American tribe, has a talking penis with a bad habit of speaking at inappropriate moments, thereby exposing its owner. The talkative penis appeared as a punishment for Nick Sant's foolishness in constantly singing a hunting song that was supposed to be sung only once during the hunting season. Sexual energy is not just about attractiveness and flirting, it's about vitality, strength, and self-confidence. The trickster uses sexuality as a tool for communication and influence. The expression of sexuality can vary. Your voice, posture, gaze, manner of speaking, and ability to be open and confident. The trickster is not afraid to be charming. Don't be afraid either. Don't lock yourself in your head. Pay attention to your body. For example, start practicing any activity that involves free movement. This could be dynamic meditation, intuitive dance, Taoist practices, Tantra, and so on. Also, always notice how you express yourself in communication at the level of sensations. If there's tension somewhere, start changing it immediately. Relax, take up more space, follow your feelings, follow your body. Forget shame. Shame is what limits us, confines us to boundaries, and makes us fear others' opinions. The trickster breaks these barriers because they don't know what shame is, because they are an element of pre-civilizational culture. They do something absurd, risky, and thereby show that shame doesn't kill us. The antithesis of the trickster is the shame-ridden consciousness that already knows all the limitations of this world, and therefore shoves everything into the shadow. The shadow lies at the heart of all shameful feelings. Its mother is shame. Its father is civilization. The shadow is the former trickster. tamed by civilization. The shadow is the dark closet of civilized culture. As Jung wrote, the trickster is the collective shadow, the sum of all the shameful traits of individual people. And since the individual shadow will never disappear as a component of personality, the collective figure will always be created from it. In each of us lives a voice that says, "You shouldn't do this, it's indecent. What will people think?" But the trickster replies, "What if I do it? So what? For example, share a funny story about your failure in the comments. Admit to something that makes you feel embarrassed. When you overcome shame, you become free. And freedom is what the trickster strives for." Be unpredictable. Oops, I didn't write this point. Let's move on. Enjoy life. If the trickster could give only one piece of advice for life, it would be, live lightly and joyfully. For them, life is not a heavy burden or an endless struggle. It's a game where mistakes turn into reasons to laugh and difficulties become exciting adventures. Don't strive to be perfect. Perfection is a narcissistic word, and tricksters are the worst enemies of all unattainable, dead, narcissistic ideals. Their creative spontaneity is incompatible with empty dreams of perfection. Tricksterism is a process, not a result, and this process should be enjoyable. The more you enjoy life, the more people are drawn to you. Lightness and joy are contagious. How to apply this in life? Find an element of pleasure in every task. Even if you have the most incredibly boring and routine job, there are still a couple of elements in life that you enjoy. Notice these moments and add an element of play to your routine. Solve an old problem in an unusual way. Stop taking life too seriously. Rules were made by people, which means they can always be rewritten. So have fun. The more you allow yourself to enjoy, the more others will see you as that inspiring trickster. Use contradictions. All life consists of order and chaos, and the spirit of these contradictions is the trickster. They are the Dionysian god of wine and music, connecting us with instincts that lie beyond civilization, striving to break conventions and lead us into wild places. Nietzsche, who called himself the last disciple of Dionysus, wrote, "I tell you, one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. Without chaos, society loses its culture. The system becomes flawed, rigid. A good system has a trickster element built into it so that it can renew itself. Therefore, the trickster not only destroys old values, but also creates new ones. This is their paradox. They can appear naive to gather more information from others, but when necessary, they become a true strategist, or they can spout complete nonsense only to insert a phrase at the right moment that flips perception. Learn to live with contradictions. Sometimes you need to be a leader, sometimes step into the shadows. Sometimes it's important to be serious, and sometimes just relax. Observe how opposites complement each other and use them to achieve your goals. Don't choose one side, become a master of balance. Stay free from attachments. Since the trickster often breaks societal norms, they are usually portrayed in a negative light. This is a mistake, as the trickster belongs neither to evil nor to good, but is responsible for both. Freedom is the trickster's ultimate destination. They do not cling to approval, status, money, or even past achievements. All these are merely tools that can be used but also discarded. They move forward, leaving behind everything that limits them. They understand if you are too attached to something, it becomes your cage. They are free because they know how to let go. For example, they can lose authority without fear if it helps achieve something more important. Or they can give up comfort to explore new horizons. After all, the trickster is always on the move, light and open to new possibilities. Ask yourself, what is holding you back? What attachments are preventing you from moving forward? Free yourself from them. Once you stop clinging, you will see the very freedom that makes the trickster a master of the game. Now, for your homework, try applying at least one of these principles today and observe what doors open when you activate your inner trickster. And remember, the world is a game, and you are the main prankster.